One of the escaped criminals was Frank Morris. He was born in Washington and had a tough childhood, spending most of it in foster families. His first serious crimes were armed robberies. Thanks to his high intelligence, Morris often managed to escape from prisons. His criminal career took off rapidly. In the 1950s, he first landed in prison for armed robbery in 1945. Over the next 10 years, Morris was held in various facilities. He earned a reputation as an escape artist, successfully breaking out of prisons in Florida and Louisiana. His constant escape attempts forced authorities to seek more secure ways to keep him locked up. By the late 1950s, Morris was transferred to Atlanta prison. In 1960, after another failed escape, he was deemed especially dangerous. Finally, on January 18, 1960, Frank Morris was sent to Alcatraz, the most heavily guarded prison in the United States. The Anglin brothers, John and Clarence, were born into a poor farming family. In the summers, they often moved north to work in the fields. As kids, they learned to swim in the icy lakes of Michigan, a skill that later played a key role in their escape from Alcatraz. The Anglins turned to crime in their 20s, starting with burglaries and break-ins. But soon, they moved on to more serious crimes. In 1958, the brothers committed several bank robberies. Their most notorious arrest came on January 17th, when they were caught during an attempt to rob a major bank in Alabama. The court sentenced both to 20 years in prison. John Anglin was sent to Atlanta prison, and soon after, Clarence was transferred there too. While serving time, they made an unsuccessful escape attempt by trying to dig a tunnel through the wall. Because of this, they were labeled as especially dangerous inmates. On October 21, 1960, John was transferred to Alcatraz. Clarence joined him a year later. Once reunited, the brothers began planning their most important escape ever. The evening at Alcatraz started like any other. After dinner, the inmates returned to their cells, following the usual routine. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and the guards had no clue about the prisoners' plans. The prison operated under strict rules. Staff regularly patrolled the blocks and checked the cells. But Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers had a plan. When the lights went out and the night shift began, all three lay in their beds, pretending to sleep. They knew exactly when the guards would pass by their cells and how much time they had until the next check. Every half hour, the staff made their rounds. In each of the three cells, they saw what looked like sleeping inmates, but it was a trick. On the beds were fake heads made of soap, toilet paper, and human hair. For months, the prisoners had been working on a tunnel behind the ventilation grates. They often used the time during patrols to prepare for their escape. Once again, they slipped through the ventilation and reached a service corridor. This corridor was one of the few areas in the prison that wasn't guarded. From there, they needed to get to the pipes and ventilation shafts, but this part was one of the riskiest. They had to move quickly and quietly after lights out to avoid drawing the guards' attention. Hidden in a corner of the corridor were homemade tools and the most important item for their escape, a raft. It took months to make. They had sewn it by hand from stolen raincoats. The rubber fabric was meant to keep it afloat in the cold waters of San Francisco Bay. The prisoners also made paddles to help them navigate. Any noise could have alerted the guards, but within a few minutes, they managed to climb onto the roof. From there, they could see the dark waters of San Francisco Bay. In the distance, the city lights flickered. Beyond them was their main destination, Angle Island, a small piece of land 2 miles north. The fog covering the island worked in their favor. With poor visibility and darkness, they were hard to spot, so they began moving forward carefully. Soon, they reached a 50-foot drop. Using a drainage pipe, they climbed down. Once on solid ground, they headed straight for the shore, where they inflated their homemade raft. They also had life vests made from raincoats, their only chance of survival. By midnight, everything was ready. The prisoners climbed into the raft and pushed off from the shore. The raft was flimsy and fragile, so any wave could have been deadly. The waters of the bay were their final challenge. The prisoners had studied the tides and currents in advance. Soon, they were in open water, where the waves grew taller and more dangerous. The escapees clung to the raft with all their strength, trying to stay balanced and not fall into the water. They knew that if the raft flipped, their chances of survival would be slim. Early the next morning, the guards made their usual rounds. When they reached the cells of Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, no one responded, thinking they were asleep. The guards entered to check. Instead, they found the fake heads. Panic broke out in the prison. Security staff immediately sounded the alarm, and the facility was locked down. All exits were sealed, and the other inmates were barred from leaving their cells. The guards began searching every inch of Alcatraz. When news of the escape spread, the prison's leadership quickly mobilized every available resource. The warden, Olin Blackwell, worked with police to search for clues. Within hours, a full-scale search was underway. They focused first on the island itself. Guards and federal agents scoured every corner, including the service corridor. They found evidence that pointed to the escapees' path tools like spoons and a drill made from a vacuum cleaner, used to dig through the ventilation tunnel. Investigators later theorized that the prisoners used a homemade raft to cross the waters around Alcatraz. Authorities had to expand the search area significantly. The FBI, Coast Guard, and local law enforcement joined the effort. The FBI took charge of the investigation. Helicopters and boats scanned the bay, while San Francisco police patrolled the area. During the search, they found a clue, a wooden paddle floating near Angel Island. The police theory began to hold up. Soon after, they found raincoats on the shore, the same material used to make the raft. This further suggested that the escapees had aimed for the northern shore. But despite the evidence, no trace of Frank or the Anglin brothers was found. No bodies, no sightings by locals. As time passed without new leads, the investigation hit a dead end. Rumors of the mysterious disappearance began to spread across the country. Over the next few weeks, theories about what happened to the escapees multiplied. The most common one was that they drowned while trying to cross the bay. San Francisco Bay is known for its freezing temperatures and rough waves. Many experts believed surviving the crossing, even on a homemade raft, was nearly impossible. This theory was backed by the discovery of the prisoners' personal items near Angel Island. But some doubted this version. Friends noted that the Anglins were tough swimmers, trained in the cold waters of Michigan since childhood, giving them a solid chance of making it. Plus, their ingenuity during the escape suggested they had planned for risks and prepared accordingly. Over time, rumors grew from locals claiming that Anglins had survived and gone into hiding. Some said they saw John and Clarence in South America, living under fake names. One of the most famous pieces of evidence was a photo from the 1970s, taken in Brazil. It showed men who looked a lot like the Anglins. The picture was provided by their family, who insisted the brothers had survived and stayed hidden. Facial recognition software analyzed the photo and found a 99% match. But the mystery didn't end there. In 2013, a letter surfaced, adding a new twist to the case. Allegedly written by John Anglin, it was sent to the San Francisco Police Department. The writer claimed all three escapees had survived, but had since gone their separate ways. Morris supposedly died in 2008, and Clarence in 2011. The author offered to turn himself in exchange for help with cancer treatment. The FBI took the letter seriously and investigated, but the results were inconclusive. They couldn't confirm the handwriting belonged to John, though the possibility he survived remained high. For years after the escape, the FBI kept digging into different leads and interviewing potential witnesses. Agents questioned hundreds of people and conducted countless investigations. Yet despite all efforts, no solid proof was found to show whether the escapees lived or died. In 1979, the FBI officially closed the case. It was handed over to the U.S. Marshals Service, which still keeps it open today. Authorities note that if any of the escapees are still alive, they'd be over 90 years old by now. And so ends the legendary tale of the Alcatraz escape. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like and subscribe for more. Until next time.